Welcome to Real Estate Real Talk with me, Skyleigh. I'm a realtor, coach, and founder of Forever Camels and Forever Fuller Real Estate Groups and the creator of Elevation Real Estate, the realtor coaching platform. After nearly a decade in this industry, I've built a business that gives me more freedom, more income, and more time with the people I love. And now I'm here to help other realtors do the same. This podcast is for agents who want to build a thriving real estate business without burning out. We talk about scaling smart and building systems so you can buy back your life, because life shouldn't feel like all work and no play. And if you're a buyer or seller tuning in, consider this your backstage pass. You'll hear unfiltered conversations with top agents and industry pros, giving you the same insights we share behind closed doors. Knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can advocate for yourself and work with someone who truly has your back. Let's get real. Okay. Today, I am sitting with Morgan Browne. I am so excited for our conversation. You are a badass woman entrepreneur, and I always love sitting down with other women who are just like killing it in the business, and I'm going to lean into learning all your secrets. If people haven't figured this out yet for listening to this podcast, this isn't about you guys who are listening. This is about me meeting people who are at a higher level than me, so that I can learn. I've just pitched you into telling me all your secrets, which is, that's actually not the intention, but I just think it's funny because I do learn so much from everybody that I have on. So I'm super excited. So thank you.
I'm here for it. Let's go.
So excited. I'm going to do a quick intro for you. And then, like I said, I am going to just ask you all of the nitty gritty questions. So Morgan is a dynamic and passionate real estate leader based in Vancouver, known for co-founding and leading Oakwyn Realty, one of the fastest growing brokerages, in which we did touch on this. You have 9 brokerages that you've touched on over the course of growing Oakwyn Realty, and you guys are expanding across Canada, which is freaking cool. If any of you who are listening have been interested in teaming up and growing a brokerage, like, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart. So kudos to you. It's impressive. Working with people is hard, and part of growing a brokerage, like, you're teaching other realtors how to be better agents and help them with their sales. So it's just like another level to business. So the fact that you have that many brokerages that you've helped co-found, it's wildly impressive for anybody who's listening. You have a people first philosophy, which I really love. I also believe in that. We were talking about living with abundance, and whatever other people's goals are, like, that's what I lean into. I just want to pour into other people. And I know that the more we give in value, the more we're going to get back. Not that's even the reason for it, but it feels so good. And I feel like that's the way that you feel about it too, is that collaboration, empowerment, and just pouring into other people. It makes it all worth it. So you have a background in high profile marketing, which I'm really excited about learning about as well. And then you also lean into negotiations and having an exceptional level of client service. So again, we're going to learn so much from you. I'm so excited. Again, thank you.
That's a lot. We love that.
But hey, when you've been doing one industry and wearing multiple hats for a certain amount of time, like, you end up pulling all of these important pieces. Like we were talking about, I've been in the industry 10 years. And I feel like I've blinked and 10 years has gone by, but then at the same time, I'm like, man, all of the hats that I've worn and the things that I've learned along the way, it's crazy. So yeah, your bio it has a lot of things in it, but at the same time, I think it makes sense. A lot of credentials.
It's got a lot of things. It feels like it's gone by really fast, honestly. So
I know.
Exciting.
Yes. And then, so you have kids, you said.
I do have kids. I have 2 children.
Okay.
Yes. They're 4 and 6, but turning 7 in a couple weeks. So
oh my gosh. 7. Okay. This even makes it more exciting for me because I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I don't know about you, not that it's completely irrelevant, but I am a single mom, and I've been doing that for 2 years, in which it feels like I am drinking out of a fire hose. But then at the same time, I'm like, I love it so much, like my work. Dividing the time, and all the moms out there, I know you guys feel the same. It's like this hard push-pull between like mom guilt, but then also just having such a passion and fire underneath you for business.
Yes.
So Tell me how you feel about that. Are we
No,
like,
yeah, I mean, I'm a huge believer that your mind and what you do is, and all what you think of and all your thoughts is what creates your reality. And I've been so blessed to have an incredible life so far. And my big thing is I've always wanted to be a mother, but I've never wanted to really lose any of my independence, lose any of my creation and my creativeness in business. And so I remember when I've been a licensed agent for 18 plus years, 17 years plus eight, almost 18 in May. And for me, I remember the time when I would as a top producer, tell a lot of the people, I want to become a mom. And agents would flat out say to me, you're not going to be a top producer. Well, you have become a mom. And of course, when someone tells you that, you think, first, you don't know me. And second of all, don't give me any more fire to show up.
oh my,
Yeah. So I had a lot of those conversations really early on in my career as a realtor. And then being a mother now, trying to juggle that mom guilt, growing and scaling a company. It was so important for me to just make sure A, I have plans in place, B, I have boundaries in place, and 3, I have the help to really just make sure that my dreams come to life. So that was that's my biggest thing, is having those kind of 2 or 3 things around me to make sure that I'm solid in all of the different ways. But guilt comes through, but there's different ways I think I've learned about different ways of really sharing how I work with my kids. And I think they will take something huge out of that. And I think they say that this is huge. They say boys that have moms that work, they have such a huge respect for females in that industry, but also, women that are working in the space, but also how they see other women in the space of their mind. So I want them to have a really healthy way of seeing equality and seeing how we're not just building, but we're learning along the way.
I love that so much. And I do feel like it is important for the kids to see this kind of stuff too, right? Because they do learn from us, and like the way that they're raised and the people that they're around, it obviously is going to have a reflection of kind of who they surround themselves with when they're older. And you know, what's funny that you're saying that is that my daughter, every time I turn around, because she's 10, I mentioned. So every time I turn around, she's talking about what she wants to be when she's older. And she always leans into entrepreneur stuff. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of times when you think about like your friends and you're like, oh, what do you want to, and their kids, and as I was growing up, people are like, oh, what do you want to be when you're older? What do you want to be when you're older? And that's not, entrepreneurs are not the things that the kids say that they want to be.
Oh, interesting.
And so now she's saying this, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this so much. I could make this, and I could sell this. And like, how much do you think I could make if I did this? And could I make videos on how to make them and sell them? And I'm like, oh my God, girl, yes, you can.
Lean into it.
Yes.
Lean into it.
Yes.
Which is
yes.
great. That was the entrepreneurs, like the people that I've seen in my path for entrepreneurs, they were always a C student. They were always the ones that were beating to their own drum. They didn't put huge emphasis on being a scholar. They had massive risk taking even when they were young. So I always say lean into that. I was that kid that used to sell clothes outside my locker and did prom and work I was such an entrepreneur so young, and my parents were the ones that saw that, and they really made me lean into the things that made me who I am today. It always starts with good DNA.
That's amazing. Yeah, I agree. And I was a big risk taker too. Now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh gosh. And I always had a really big problem with authority. I was like, you can't tell me what to do. And
I'm a huge believer that authority can be great in many ways, but as your children grow, you should ask them and make them have a mindset of, why are these rules in place? Mm-hmm. So my question is, making them curious. Like, why is this the rule?
Yeah.
And what is that? And can there be a different rule in place? And I think once you start having your kids say, okay, why is this rule in place? They start to realize there's something greater than that. And maybe it can change. Maybe that can change. Was that a rule that was put in the 1800s? So I think you have to, you doing that is so great for your kids.
Yeah, it's
You
cool.
sound
And then
great.
actually, you know what? You're reminding me of this too. My mom used to say this all the time, and I don't do this, and it leans into like your philosophy of asking why. My mom always used to say, she'd be like, because I said so. And I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
probably why I was like, don't tell me what to do and all the things. Because I said so wasn't good enough for me. And I'm like, I need to know why the things
Mhm.
are the way that they are. Because if I can understand why they're the way that they are, and it makes sense for why it's that way, then again, I'm able to go with it. But when it's because I said so, and where it
It's not
feels
enough.
like someone's dampening down like your autonomy just for the
Yes,
sake of it, that's the part that used to bother me. And I
totally.
had
I can
issues
see
with. But when I can see the big picture as to why the way things are the way that they are, and I'm like, okay, now I can strategically plan where I'm going to put my energy because of these things.
I really believe that like, when you're raising kids, you like I always say like the Goldie Hawn thing. Goldie Hawn said this a long time ago, where the only time you have them is in your body. After that, they're their own souls, they're their own person. And our main job as parents is just to make sure that they're just likable, not only likable, but being able to be respectful of other people and live in this cohabitative world that we have to be in. But after that, they have to like really dive into what makes them special. That's a huge part of it. I think, yeah, my parents were a big, we call it the gardening technique, where there's three of us and we're all so different. You have to lean into what makes them so special.
That's so
Yeah.
funny. I was going to say the gardening metaphor because I had heard it once before, and the person that on the podcast that was saying it was like, I feel like everybody knows this. And maybe I had heard it before, but it just didn't, I didn't, when you hear
Connect.
something like the fifth time and you were finally ready to hear it.
Hmm.
So it was like that. And I heard the metaphor about how kids are like a garden and you just got to give them the things in order for them to thrive and pick their journey, as opposed to trying to over incubate and over fertilize. And then if you give them too much sun and you give them too much water, and then it just, yeah. So I've really leaned into that as well. And I think that goes even to being said, we're going to switch gears here, but
Yeah.
I feel like the agents that we work with, because I have a team as well, and there's been a number of people that I've coached and mentored, they're like our children. And like we just have to give them the tools. Like it's the same cliche saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So it's like our job, and probably what you really lean into for growing the brokerages and bringing people on is here's all of the tools and the resources, and you just have to let them be who they're meant to be within the like industry. And
Yes.
so with that being said, I'm
Yeah.
curious about how you went about partnering with your partners. This was an interesting piece that we were talking about earlier. So you said that somebody reached out to you and asked you to partner. So I'm going to let you explain that again because I had some fun things to poke at for that.
Yeah, so I've been a licensed agent in Vancouver. I started very young in my journey. I was 21 when I first started. So I started this brokerage at 27, which is crazy to think that because now I'm nearing my 40s, coming soon.
You just want to be
And
like J-Lo. I say this. Everyone thinks that I'm in like my early 20s still. And I was like, I want to be like J-Lo. I'm going to be like 50 and you guys are going to think I'm
yeah,
30. And that's the same thing that's happening with you right now. It's just, no, you are like time
you know
stamped
what?
in
You
your
get
early 30s. Like you're my age. That's,
Yeah, I feel I'm a big believer that you get these wounds along the way of your journey, and I'm so proud of those wounds, like those little scrapes. And I've learned so much. And I always say I have this kind of MBA in real estate because of just how like incubated we felt when we were going and growing.
yeah.
Yeah, so I started when I was 21 and I built my team now, which is called Morgan Browne Collective in Greater Vancouver, which I'm very proud of. And then there was a session where me and a couple of my other friends, people that I've known in the industry, we all were top producers. And we said, this is the time. It was pre-COVID. It was around the time where we didn't really understand why a lot of brokerages, like the franchises, the American companies, were in the market. And then we started the company 13 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. And we really just focused on the people. We were so focused on growing, again, what you were saying, just really seeing and having them as almost like your, not only children, I wouldn't say that, but I would say definitely your business partner. Like you had so much in them that you wanted to build up. And we really wanted to create kind of a movement where agents felt supported, they felt entrepreneurial. They felt they were part of a community more than anything, and built the brokerage really around that piece specifically. So we started with core values, and I think that's what really aligns all of our agents this day is we believe in this, and we have 7 core values that are really about putting people first, creating incredible innovative service, building that community, creating that community, but also being a real estate nerd, like knowing and being passionate about what you do, right? And so having a little bit more of emphasis on our core values was, I think, the first part of it. And that goes from our philosophy of really being a bottom-up structure. So we're not a top-down where you're seeing things fly out and they're a typical brokerage where you just put your name in and you're now part of this kind of sphere. We're more about keeping the soil extremely rich with incredible pillars, great leadership, great support, managing brokers, great workshops, pursuing growth and learning in a very heavy way, being in a very supportive community, having beautiful storefronts that you're proud to come in with your clients, and they're coming in and they're seeing that you live and you work in this level of real estate. And then with that, we believe that if we really create a place where our agents feel supported, they feel very heard, and they are able to grow, that they'll be able to provide better service to their clients. So just that structure going up. And that's how it all became where it is today.
Yeah, 100% though. And that was another reason why I'm so happy about the collaboration that's happening with everyone within the real estate industry, because I do feel like the more we know and the more help we give to the other realtors who are starting, or even maybe like realtors who have been around, but that they maybe haven't had the mentorship and the resources in order to have the ongoing education, the industry as a whole will do better if we set a higher standard for what's acceptable, and if we're providing the information to everybody. Like, yeah. I really do believe that the industry had a bad rap, or sometimes has a bad rap, but that's not because of the industry as a whole. It's because of individual stories, right? It's like the rental market being horrible, but that's because you've heard of bad tenants. That's not the rental market as a whole. It's just individual stories. And for every one bad story, you tell 10 people, but when you have really good ones, you don't say anything. So I do think that we need to propagate and give all of the good things out to everybody so that the industry as a whole can elevate. I think it's really important for that. So then something that you had also mentioned is that you want people to like nerd out about real estate, which I also really, I've had friends of mine ask me so many questions about real estate, and they're like, I'm so sorry I'm bugging you about this, like when we're at a barbecue or when we're here or here. And I'm like, no, I love this stuff. I was like, I eat, sleep, breathe this. This is fun for me. Like, if it's not fun for you, like, what are you doing in the industry? I agree.
I think you're like, being a real estate nerd is definitely like nerding out, but it's also just like being so passionate about the industry as a whole, but also what you're selling, right? What you're doing and what you're all about. It's all about being authentic in the end of the day for what we do at Oakwyn. And I feel like the people that are serving with us, we really believe that are serving like the general public, have to know what they're talking about. They have to be passionate about what they're talking about, and they can't really hate it. Like, they have to love it, because it will just flow. It's all that energy flowing back and forth. And I built my business on, even my resale business, on just being extremely authentic, knowing that relationships come first, and having the belief that the market it has specific things that we have to consider, but having the belief that real estate is a very great investment for them and their families. It's still that piece out there today. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't believe in real estate as being a great investment, I don't know why you sell real estate. Like, I've heard people say that before, and I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, this makes no sense to me. If you're in it for the wrong reasons, you're not going to do well at it. And that goes for everything, because you do have to have a passion for it and be wanting to learn and grow more, and be obsessed with learning and growing and helping others also be successful from the things that you've learned. So it's very interesting when sometimes you run into people So I'm glad you have the core values because you're like, ooh, maybe this isn't the right fit.
Yeah.
But
It is a big tale for people. We have a mission statement that we have all the things, the bells and whistles, in the sense of our mission and our core values and our slogan and our even to the point of how we our standard of service. And I think the more and more you really identify that and the brokerage that you choose to be a part of and you're aligning with it, the more your clients appreciate you and where you're going and what you believe in. And I really think people get business because of that, because they're so clear about who they are, what their mission is, what their service standard is going to be. And we've made it so it's easy for people to really show that to their clients.
Yeah, it's like standing behind your product, obviously, right? Like it's an important aspect to your business. So then that being said, you did say that you're still in the resale business as well as growing like the brokerages. So how would you say you divide your time? Do you divide your time? Are you like super structured? How do you manage doing multiple hats of things?
Yeah, I think that it's all about having a team and being able to delegate and having teams on my resale business. I have multiple businesses, I have podcasts, I have different things. And I really believe that I'm there to be the most present wherever I am. Like I lead with that. I lead with being, if I'm going to be there, I'm going to be with a client, I'm going to be there with them and I'm going to be serving them in a great way. If I'm doing a podcast, if I'm doing a talk at one of my brokerages, I'm there with them. And that's the only thing I have to do. So how I divide my time is just about really careful planning. I'm a huge planner. Like after I get off the phone with you today or after the podcast, I am going into pretty much like an 8-hour planning session just by myself.
Oh my God.
And I'm asking very important questions to myself that I ask every quarter. But now that I'm leaning into the new year, I ask core questions like, what are some of the goals that I did not hit this year and why? And I ask myself, I expand on a lot of those key things that I think are so important to having a really healthy relationship, not just with my businesses, but also with my husband, with my family. And I just don't know I don't think that you'll be able to get to your destination without planning and seeing a very clear picture with that. I come from like a family of planners. Like my mom is a business coach. Thanksgiving was like, what are you thankful for and where are you going? That is like my life.
I love
so
that.
For me, it's okay. I've always had high goals, high expectations about where I am. And I want to be able to look back and say my time was worth that time while I was there. Yeah. And so that's what I do. I think to answer your question is just about really healthy planning, taking a moment, taking a breath, knowing what you want, knowing what boundaries you want to put in, how you want to change things and dial into a better place. And if it's buying a cabin, being so like, or if it's like going on a big trip, or it's like taking Fridays off, then you need to be able to start to work backwards and start implementing very small steps to get you to those next steps, to the next spot. That's how I do it.
Yeah, I like it. It sounds like you've reverse engineered all of it, which is usually the way that I look at things as well. I'm like, okay, where are we going? And then I'm like, now how do we get there? And then you do the small, compounded, daily, measurable activities in order to actually get there. I can't believe we're going into an 8-hour session after this, though. I'm like,
yeah, 8 hours. And then I'm going to a dinner tonight with one of the top agents in Los Angeles. So I'm like back to back, but I'm going to be like really in that space. I'm excited to have a glass of wine. That's what
yeah, no kidding. You're like, I would be like, after being with myself and only myself for 8 hours, I need a glass of wine.
Yeah. And it's challenging because you can do it all in an hour. Like you can do, like if planning is for some people, you can do it in an hour, but it's not about it being an hour. It's about it being like a long day of just planning throughout everything. And if you have time and space to do that, I definitely recommend it. And if the parents are out there, work it like it's like your work day, 9 to 5. That's that. And then when your kids come home, to chat with them about it because they're part of it.
I do really, honestly, that's something that I really need to get better at. I go in and out of these spurts of doing what you have said, which is like wherever you are, you're really focused on
Present.
that and you're present. And then I've also gone through spurts of, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff on my plate and I'm trying to just like get it all done that you're not super present, but you're still trying to get the other things done. So I'm like, could be physically present with my kids, for example, but then I'm like not mentally present because I'm like have so many things going on in like the back of my mind. And I think now you've reminded me, I'm like, okay, I need to like redial
And
in
like,
because if you're
yeah,
hyper
the phone is
focused,
the worst. The phone is
yeah,
the worst for your kids. Like it's used as a tool, but if you can lock it out for 2 hours, like when your kids are around, definitely recommend that. I don't look at my phone when they're around unless there's like a deal or there's someone that's like super active for it. I have to be there. But most of the time, I'm putting my phone in my office and I'm shutting the door and creating that healthy boundary. Because I don't want to look back and say I miss them when they were young because I didn't put these careful commitments in place and boundaries in place. And that's not a kid doing that. That's an adult. Like you have to choose to be that adult in that space. Like you have to make that decision. It's like working out. I like to work out all the time, but sometimes it gets off the path, right? Because I'm like, I'm busy, I'm running, I'm traveling, I'm doing all this stuff. But as soon as you work out, you feel so good about it. You're like, oh my God, my body feels so strong. I'm so much more healthier that way. I eat better, everything goes, but it's about putting those healthy boundaries up. That one I still need help with is the working out one.
oh, it's hard. We have so many things on our plates. Like it's hard. And you know what? I have been telling myself this for a while now when I am feeling like, oh, I just need to add like the working out thing, for example. And I'm like, it's a season. It's a
Mm-hmm.
season. And so right now with everything going on in like my personal life and having my kids full time, my son was just diagnosed with autism. We just moved. There's lots going on and then still like working and all the things. So I'm like, I think it's fair to be like, you know what? This is a season.
It's a season.
It's a season.
And
It's
you're
going to be
and
okay. And
you're
then
okay.
when we have the space to add the extras onto our plate, I think that's great. The only reason that I'm saying this too is because I am not everybody is like this. I feel like you probably are similar to this just because
Mhm.
women at a certain level or even men at a certain level, they always feel like they should do more. And there's other people out there that I've talked to and they're like, I just don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. But when you peek behind the curtain, you're like, okay, how many hours of Instagram scrolling have you done? How many hours of TikTok? How many TV shows have you watched? I'm like, I haven't watched a TV show in years.
Me neither.
And I'm
I
like,
did watch the Seth Rogen one recently. It was very good.
yeah, so
As
funny.
a Canadian, we have to support him. As a
Yeah.
Vancouver. Yeah, yeah.
But I haven't watched a TV show in years. And then on top, like when you look at my screen time on my phone, I'm like, oh, I've only been on Instagram for 10 minutes a day.
Wow,
So I'm
that's really
like,
good.
okay. So when you peek behind the curtain and I actually look and I'm like, when I say I don't have time, I'm one of those people. I'm like, I actually don't. I feel like you probably are as well. So there was a book that I had read. It's called Do Less by Kate Northrup.
Obviously, best book. One of the best books I've read.
It is so good. And I think this is where my like power of delegation came from. And it sounds like you also have a power to delegate and take things off your plate. But yeah, you can really like hone in and grow from leaning into the things that you love doing and delegating the things that you don't.
Mhm.
And yeah, I definitely feel like the gym is a thing where I should be going at this moment. But then at the same time, I'm like, it's a season and I don't want to be the person who says I just need to compound and do one more thing, one more thing, one more thing, and that's actually probably more detrimental to my health and yours based off of how much time we actually have when you peek behind the curtain.
It's like you're the gatekeeper of your schedule. So I'm like quite formal. Everything's in my Google Calendar. Like I live off of it. I don't even know what's happening. I do a revamp every Friday to make sure if there's anything I can and cannot do.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to be very like honest with your schedule, honest with the people that work with you and have great people around you that are actually very giving to that. I think it's one thing to be like, okay, you want to put, I also have best friends. I have people that I want to spend time with.
Yeah.
And they're so great about my time and they know how precious it is and vice versa to their time. No one is busier than anyone else. That's how my mind is. But it is really good to choose great people around you to support that in a big way.
I have a friend who actually sends me her Calendly link in order for us to book a hangout. And she says that her other friends like judge her for it. And I'm like, no, girl, like I am here for the Calendly link.
There yet, but I think that's funny. But yeah, you gotta say, I really believe in like really big times with people. Like go away with your girlfriends, spend some time with them, get away, go to a spa or something. Because 1 or 2 hours, hard to connect.
There is actually a number of studies out there that say that men will live longer when they're married.
Yes.
And it says that women will live longer when they're single.
No, and they're actually not just a study on that. It's actually that they're happier.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
It's not even the living longer. It's the happiest.
And the happiness. And so when I think about that, there's other studies that are out there that say that women are really good at nurturing their friends, right? And I think that's probably why men live longer when they're with their partners, because they have someone to lean on and be nurtured by. I feel like a lot of times men aren't always comfortable. Hopefully they are getting to be more comfortable in today's modern age of leaning on their male friends and being open to actually having conversations about the deep nitty-gritty things. But I think that's why women, so I do believe, I'm like, you need time with your friends and like leaning into those relationships. It's so important. And having other women that are on the same like mindset path as you, that are going through the same stuff as you, because you just get it. You do get it. I agree. Everybody needs to do a trip to like Sparkling Hill or like with their girlfriends. They actually have a women's retreat weekend too.
I know that. I see it. All my friends are, it's funny. It's like I do believe that there's different friends for different things. And I have older friends that because I run to them if I have a concern or there's something more of that. I have like my best friends who are like ride or die if something happens with my husband or my kids, like you talk to them for that. And then I have like new group of friends, which is just like to reinvent and to build and to grow something different and to keep it spicy and to build new relationships. So there's a big span of that you have to give attention to. And I think each of them are very equal, which is great.
I love that we're leaning into the female like conversations here. And I have a question for you. And I'm really hoping we can be candid about this because it's something that keeps happening. I'm going to be vulnerable with you. Hopefully we can be candid about this. Breaking barriers in a male-dominated industry. So maybe I'll let you just like touch on that for a second, but then I do have a question for you.
Sure. That's a loaded pack question. Because
I see where your mind goes with it. And then that's why I was like, I don't want to plant a seed and direct you a certain way. So I'm like, I just wanted to put it out there and then see what you say first.
For me, I will tell you, my life has been with a lot of very strong female presence. So for me, seeing like a male-dominated, female-dominated industry didn't come from me seeing it as something that I had to conquer because it was that. But it wasn't until I got into the industry that I felt it. And that's when you really want to give back, and not only give back, but change the dynamic of that and change that feeling for other people. Because I came from a place where women really conquered a lot of incredible, not only industries, but was able to be all things, to be the mother, the business owner, the entrepreneur, whatever it may be, the wife, all at one time. But it wasn't until I got into the industry of real estate that I felt some of that judgment. I mentioned one of them earlier in this conversation about them saying to me that I was never going to be a top producer if I had a family. But overall, I think as a leader and how I had to change that in that space was I'm a true believer that for you to create something, you need to make space for it. So one of the big things that Oakwyn has done is started a movement called the Women of Oakwyn Woo. And in that Woo, every year it's actually our 10-year anniversary next year. It's going to be a big one. And we've given out 18 scholarships for women. We've built out huge charities with women that needed in domestic disputes and domestic homes. We've championed that in a big way. We've had incredible guest speakers that have conquered massive hills in their industry, so that females see, and they create that space for women to see that's possible for them in their lives and also for them and their clients' lives. I do believe that this business is about giving first and then receiving, and you have to share your experiences with other women so that it doesn't happen to them, or they can learn from it and stop it and create that boundary and move on. So that's what I believe in, the male dominated, female dominated, but I just think it's a minority thing too. I champion all the minorities that are not being able to be seen in a big way. That we have a huge pride piece for the LGBT community as well. I think that it's just expanding on that and making more space for women in that space and more minorities. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason that I really wanted to touch on it is because I keep running into these roadblocks, and I'm like, I don't think I'm putting out energy for these roadblocks to come up, but maybe it's something that's, you know what, where energy, what's the word? What you focus on expands. So I'm like, I'm not focusing on this, but for some reason it keeps popping up right here. And I'm like, why do I keep noticing this happening? And so I'm like, is this
roadblock? What's the roadblock?
The roadblock is the fact that every time I turn around, I feel like I am not being trusted because I'm a female. And I'm like, I am so confused. So like, you being owner broker, expanding the brokerages is really where I am curious about, because as I am running my coaching company, originally I was working with another coaching company, and great friends, wonderful humans. But there was a number of times where I would be like, oh, what if we did this? And what if we did this? And then all of a sudden somebody else would say it who was a male, and it was like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, are you kidding? I was like, I literally said that. And it happens all the time.
Yeah, it does happen. I think that it does happen. It does happen. And I think some of that is like not matching with the people that you're with and not being able to be valued in a big way. So I think going within, to your point, is you should be so intentional with people that know, that value you. I think women, we tend to, and I can't speak for all females, but I do think that there is a trend. There is something that we all have, and it's this likability. It's this being able to support everyone. It's about us being able to be in the supportive role instead of being the main character. And I think as you craft the vision of your life, you should only be in that space where you, as your authentic self, is so valued. And if they don't feel that, then you need to separate yourself and from that and be so intentional with that, because that's happened to me a million times. Even with partnership, it's two women and one man, and it's not until one of the men is like saying it that it gets put into the place. But I do believe in divine timing. I do believe that you're like, when those things are supposed to meant to happen, they're going to happen in the right way. Everyone has to be on board with partnership. But I think when you're in the room with people, I have fired clients. I have walked away from specific negotiations. I have not purchased specific businesses because of what you're saying, because the value is not being seen, and you have to walk away from that and set that as your tone, being so intentional with that. If you're not valuing what I'm doing, if you're not letting me be able to be literal with what my advice is, then my advice to you is to separate yourself from that and move on to the next, and which you've done. It sounds like you moved on to a different coaching space.
Yeah, you know what? And I really appreciate you saying that. And I think that what I'm learning is that I need to be quicker with my decision instead of being so optimistic that one day it'll be different.
Decisiveness for women is the hardest trait for them. Is decisiveness.
Yeah,
and it's like they're not decisive, and we're like, it's like almost like we're trying to get everyone else in that pie, but at the end of the day, it's like you're the pie. So be decisive when you need to get cooked.
Yeah,
So get
I'm
in.
learning how to set better boundaries. It's something that I'm really working on. And it's definitely something that I realized when I look at like myself as a whole or like my business as a whole, little holes in the business. And you're like going
Mhm.
along in your business practice and you're patching the holes as you go. And it's just one of those things that I've noticed that I'm like, okay, this is a hole in my business and in my process that I need to like patch, but I keep getting caught in it because I think that it's the narrative that I've told myself for so long. And it's like rewriting that narrative and then really believing deep down so that you can hold the boundary is the tough part for me. So that's why I wanted to ask you. I was like, you've obviously been here where I am. And I'm like,
Yeah,
how do you,
listen, I can tell you stories where I've been in a big boardroom with some of the top people in the city, and they've asked me to go get water and coffee, and no one else was asked. And I really have, I've worked with incredible coaches, great mentors, specifically male mentors, on how to handle that.
oh, I
And
love that.
so much of things where you're just able to not just be so afraid and not react to it. It's not about being reactive, but just being able to be smart enough to connect those dots really fast that doesn't happen again. And what to say in those moments when that happens, and then you're able to take that bite and they'll never forget it. Like it makes them feel something. So
Interesting.
yeah, just huge about that. Huge about just being intentional and also just hearing it one time and knowing that needs to be cut out from the narrative completely.
Can I ask you what advice he gave you? If something like that happens, what did he say?
Yeah. So the advice is it's about stopping it and creating that off ramp, right? So I'm like, for instance, just slamming the door right there and saying that will never happen. So, like, for instance, even just an example of, can you go do this for me? Or can you go get everyone the coffee or whatever it may be? And saying no, like very no. And if you ask me that again, you cannot be in my boardroom, like very cut and dry on it. And it works.
So then were they saying, I see, and then I waver between this two. And I hope it's okay that I'm like spending a
Yeah,
little bit of
vent
time.
out. I love it.
See, I told you I'm picking your brain for my own sake, not for anybody who's listening. So in the moment, let's say for example, like again, you're in a meeting and somebody is like, hey, can you go get everybody coffee? And you're supposed to obviously be there as one of the collaborators and like brainstorming masterminds behind it. In that moment, in front of everybody, is that when you
Yeah.
say no?
Yes.
And then do you say if you ask me that again in that
Yeah.
moment, or do you just say
Yeah.
no?
You have to be able to put your boundary on and then create an off ramp, which basically allows them to think of something else. Like what they've done is actually not very nice
Like it's not
to me.
acceptable.
It's not acceptable.
Okay.
So, for instance, if someone was talking and they didn't hear what you said, because that happens a lot, right? And it's you immediately jump to it. It's one time, like, okay, whatever. Second time, you're like, okay, like I can hear that I said that and you're now not hearing me. And the third time, you're like, okay, then you start blaming on the male female dominated space because you're like, that's obviously why, right? That's the first thing women do is that's obviously why that's there.
Yeah.
So I think in those moments is I would pull that person that you need that conversation with, and I'd make note to that. I'd say these are the 3 times, and this is the third time, and I don't feel like it's acceptable for if I say something and it's not being actually valued, and then another person does, and it's something that that makes me like it's a fact that now you're not taking what I am bringing to the table as value.
Yeah.
It's now a fact. And I think what people have realized over time is that we are afraid to judge a relationship. You don't want to hurt the conversation with somebody else. You don't want them to think of you like a specific way. Take that all out of the equation.
Yeah, I have this like internal narrative where I'm like, okay, these are the things that are going to be said. All the people in the room are going to be like, okay, she's a bitch. Or that like me saying no in that moment was actually probably not the right time and I should have pulled him to the side to have a conversation with him after the fact. These are the things that are running through my head when in reality I'm making an excuse for what's acceptable for like him to say to me in front of people and for what is acceptable for like me to receive in front of people. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I don't want to embarrass him in front of everybody, but for some reason I'm okay letting him embarrass me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I'm like, why am I?
it's
Yeah, it's
it's
such a weird
something
push pull.
so it's I think people make it deeper than what it is. It's an action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is what it is. It's if a dog takes a shit on the, excuse my language, a dog should pick up the shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's nothing. At the end of the day, you want to make an example of it. It just depends on how you want to be. Like you're talking a lot about your own internal narrative, and
Yes.
you're talking about external things of people being placed, but you're at the end of the day have to lie your head on that table or on the pillow.
Yeah, I think that I've been penalized for being like strong for so long that now that I'm in this like space where I need to come across strong, that it makes me worried that I'm not going to be a quote unquote good girl, or that I'm going to be like perceived as a bitch. And like women in business, if you are like a strong, like independent, you can do this on your own person, you are perceived as not being like likable.
Yeah,
There's studies around women in our like
yeah, and you know
not
why
be
I did
likable, and I'm like, why?
I did woo actually was because that's actually the biggest criticism is actually from other women. It's not from other men.
Interesting.
It's
Okay, good
from
to
other
know.
women being very judgmental of that person in space, right? Oh, if she's there, then something else is wrong. Like something else. Oh, she's super successful. So it means her marriage is, or and her kids probably never see her. It's like we make these assumptions and things on other people where I'm trying to take that away from everything. Don't make any assumptions on anybody. And you shouldn't make assumptions on yourself either. People don't actually care about you enough. This is the truth. They don't care
It's
about
so
you
funny.
enough.
I've heard that before, and it's like,
They don't care
stop
about
thinking
you.
you're so special. Nobody's thinking about you.
And what I think every time I think of this, I think about my daughter. I think about if my daughter felt that and she heard someone else say that, how would I want her to see me? Would she want me to be that person to be like, okay, sure, I can help you out, no problem? Or would she want me to be like, you know what? No, you can ask somebody else. And I would prefer you do that, never ever do that again. And then your daughter is, let's just say, pretend she's sitting there looking at you. What is she thinking about you? She's either thinking about, she's never thinking that you're a bitch. No one's thinking you're a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what she's thinking? Shit, I hope I have the balls to do that when I get there. Because, but you got to make an example of that.
Yeah,
You
that
have to
should
make an
be that
example
now.
of
Yeah, that's the question I need to ask myself every time I get into a situation like that where my old narrative starts popping up is, okay, what expectation do I want to set for my kid if she was actually watching this right now?
And she is watching you. That's the funny thing, because she feels it in your soul. And I really believe that you have to be that person of example for them, and not only for them, but for other women in the room and other men in the room. You have to be, they weren't taught by their mom to treat people with respect. And that's your job now to, unfortunately, to set that example for that. I don't believe that at all. And guess what? Men aren't the problem. It's the women thinking what you're doing is a problem. We have to change it.
And that we're not setting the like expectation and setting the boundaries with the people around us, right? Because if the standard is the status quo of what everybody's been allowing, then I guess that's what
it's the same
is
thing with like
acceptable.
my clients or people that are lawyers and they're in the room and they're too afraid to say something at the table. Or it's some of my clients who are biggest business owners running big business pieces, and they're female and they're too nervous to pitch to somebody. There's something where you have to, it's hard to take that courage pill and rejuvenate it and have that strength of superpower.
Yeah.
But we have to change that narrative for everyone else so that there's an example. I'm a true believer that if even you got to pull up the chair, even if the table isn't set. So don't be afraid to pull up that chair, and someone will bring you your cutlery and plate.
I love this so much. I appreciate this so much more. I really do. It's
fun.
just, I really appreciate it. So like I can hear myself saying the things that you're saying in my head. It's just like having other women that are like echoing it, being like, no. And especially since you are a strong woman in the industry, like you've been there. and you're like, this is how you do it. I love, like, success
Oh,
leaves
you're
clues.
gonna
I'm like,
shine.
I want to just dig into all the things that you've already been down the road.
I don't know. I'm still going down that road, but it's so fun. It's fun to see it. And I've spent a majority of my time feeling like other people are dimming my light. But really what was happening was I was dimming my own. So don't dim it. Shine that really even brighter. Get that red head out at the table. You know what I mean? I want to see it.
Yeah, no, that's so great. Okay, and then I know that we're like almost at the end of time, but there is one thing that you just said that I think could be our wrap up kind of conversation and question, because I know that you do really enjoy marketing,
Love marketing.
and you mentioned like leaning into your own power and not letting anyone dim your lights. Your personal brand and authenticity is obviously super important. Like you said, you're like leaning into it. So I want to know your perspective on your brand, on being authentically you, because I do feel like there's so many people out there that think that they just need to be what everybody else is. So
It's not as fun.
no, and it's sad. Like we all don't need to be the same.
So
We already have
hard.
enough of everybody else.
Yeah. The best marketing strategy is authenticity. And when people see the real you and they trust you is the best marketing. And I think with our brokerage, storytelling's huge. Knowing that the market is really based off of affordability and shifting demographics and incredible new technology that's coming out. There's so much there. Marketing is at the precipice of what we're doing and what we're doing on a brokerage level. Even with my resale team, knowing that like each one of my incredible members and partners are so special and leaning into that is huge. And personal brand, I think it's really tough to be who you really are. And there's no one giving you an award for it. But for some reason, being able to like really lean into that marketing, lean into the authenticity of who you are is so important. It's something ChatGPT can't do. It's like they can't mimic it. Like they can't mimic your authenticity at all.
Yeah, no matter how many times you try and train it to have your voice, it's still not quite right.
It's not quite right. Yeah. And I think your marketing is marketing again. I think it's about that storytelling. It's about sharing a little bit about who you are and what you're about. And it doesn't have to be like a victim story to create like a success story. I think that was a very 90s, 2000 thing that like read through very well. It's about attracting like-minded people. It's about elevating people that are similar to you and people that really hear you for that. And not everything has to be perfect all the time. And I think that the shiny diamond, the rock, was played for so many years. And now it's about finding the crystals and the kind of great vines and the colors and the beauty of that, right? It's not about that diamond. It's about the amethyst. It's about the change of where it is. Yeah. And that's my take on marketing. You can control so much about it, but then being able to adapt and be authentic is, I think, the thing that makes businesses thrive today.
Yeah. And it is so tragic when you meet clients and you're different than what you are on your social media and on your marketing materials and all the things. Like people want to work with you for you. So if you show up authentically then it builds that trust and rapport. I think there was a study out there that said that the number one thing that people look for in their realtor is, can I trust this person? It's a massive asset. So if you are doing your marketing and showing up on social media, not being authentically you, and then you show up, your trust goes like automatically out the window, like instantly. So I agree about the authenticity, leaning into who you are. Birds of a feather flock together. There are people out there for all types of agents that are out there. I remember when I first got started in the industry, I think my brother-in-law had said this. He's a carpenter. He was like, oh, I should get into real estate and all the things. He's like, but I'm a grungy carpenter. I can't get into the industry. And at first, because I just got into the industry, at first I believed what he said. And then as time went on, I was like, no, there are people for all types of people. And I'm like, you can go into any industry, doesn't matter what it is. There are going to be people that want to work with people like you. So
Also, like, I feel like people separate meeting so many agents and getting to know their stories. Like, people try to hide that, like their previous past, their previous career, like who they were in the before the first iteration of them. And where I actually think they need to use it. And once they use it, you see them get to the next place. Like, I really believe that even mothers, like, this is a perfect example of it. They have children, they don't want to show their bump when they're pregnant because they're afraid they're never going to get hired as an agent. They're shifting away, like when their kids are crying or whatever it may be, because they're afraid that they're not going to be professional enough. And I think you got to embrace and work with people that kind of see and value that in you as well. Be able to mix and mingle those two pieces. That's why people ask me, like, do you think I should have a separate Instagram account for who I am and whatever? I'm like, no, you got to blend. You got to blend it all together, because people want something that is true to you and not an authentic. You can call it authentic, but true to you more than anything. And from there, you actually magnetize who you are, and people will come to you because of it. So I have agents that were previous great, incredible actors. And I'm like, lean into that, build into that, right? Get into it. Or carpenters or teachers, or people have great paths. And so don't be afraid to mention that a part of your story, because if anything, it's just giving you another badge for you to show to your team.
Yeah, I really lean into building my client base through relationships and like building those relationships. And when you're building relationships, I don't think that it can be just like a one-sided thing, right? If you're not willing to share anything about yourself, the likelihood is that they're not going to be open to sharing things with you either, in which we need to know things about them in order to help them. I say that I have a degree in counseling, which I don't, but that's like part of our job is to help them, and they need to trust us, and we need to be able to have this relationship with them so we can actually help them navigate it. And yeah, I do think that they need to know about you as well. And when all is said and done, like, I'm friends with my clients. Like, they're not a number on my chart. Like, they're actually people that I genuinely care about. And I'm like, I want to be invited to your kid's birthday party.
Yeah, exactly. I've lost a lot of business being pregnant. And the men are across me and they're doctors, and they're saying, we don't think you can take on this listing, and because you're pregnant. And I'm like, it wasn't meant to be. We would never be able to align on our values, because the people that are hiring, we know that I can handle even more when I'm at this stage. That's nothing.
That's funny. I actually wrote that down. I was like, I think my best year was when I was pregnant.
Oh yeah, because you have no time for anything. You're like,
I'm like, I am efficient getting this done. I was like, we're like, yeah, I'm the same.
But it's about breaking the molds. That's for sure. Breaking the molds. Yeah.
I really appreciate our conversation. I could talk to you for
I know. Thank you for your time. I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for asking me to be a part of it.
Yeah, no worries. Like I said, really grateful for you to come today. And I'm going to message you later after you've had your 8 hours of brainstorming and see how the evolution of what happened today.
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see it all. But yeah, thank you. And I wish everyone the best luck in their businesses. And I'm always able to chat with you. So feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Yes. Oh, and quick, before we do sign off, so people can find you like Instagram, LinkedIn, that's super easy. Just look up Morgan Browne. But then for your website, is there like, what's your...
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is Morgan Browne Official is my IG, and on both TikTok and IG. And then I have my websites are oakwyn.com, which is my company brokerage. You can always reach out to me if you are an agent that's looking for a new home and a positive change. And then I obviously my podcast is Get On Top. So feel free to reach out to me and Get On Top with Morgan Browne.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm excited for your new podcast.
Thanks so much. That was excellent. Thank you for your time today.
Okay, bye. That's a wrap on this episode of Real Estate Real Talk. whether you're an agent building your business or a buyer or seller trying to get the real story. Thanks for being here. If this episode gave you clarity, confidence, or just something to talk about, I'd love for you to follow, rate, and share the show. It helps more people find these conversations. If you have questions or want to connect, head over to SkyleighMcCallum.com or come hang out with me on Instagram. Thanks for listening, and I hope you catch the next episode on Real Estate Real Talk.